everybody, welcome back to Day 1 Breakfast with Bob from 70.3 World Championships in beautiful Taupo, New Zealand. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by HOKA, Fly Human Fly, Master Spas, SFuels, Right Fuel, Right Time, Deboer Wetsuits, Quintana, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, she is a two-time Olympic silver medalist in the mixed relay. She is a two-time 70.3 world champion looking to get her third straight title. And she is a champion of the T100 series. Taylor Knibb joins us. What a year you've had.
Yes, we talked in April, and that was, 7 months ago,
It was a while, yes.
And it feels like it's been a while.
It's been a long season. We were just talking to Els Visser. She raced here in January in New Zealand. And I'm looking at her like 16 races, and I'm like, oh my God, you are a crazy person.
I think I've only done 12. So
and then being at the Olympics for that period of time, and doing bike racing and triathlon, trying to balance all that. Looking back on it now, just the fact that you had the opportunity to compete in two different sports at the Olympics, that had to be pretty special.
Yes, and I think so on my way to Dubai, I read a book about the Olympics because I think it's like kind of like the spirit of the sport. And
right.
Like, what is the Olympics meant to be? Because I think that it's changed, and it's very much, it's kind of tough when people ask me about Paris because everyone knows the Olympics, and it's like everyone thinks the Olympics are amazing.
Right.
And so it's like when people are like, how is Paris? There's only one answer. And you have to appease them. And it was amazing. That's the only answer they'll accept.
Right.
And you don't see the side where it's not so fun always. But I mean, that's part of sport, and you take the good and the bad, and you're grateful for when it's good, but there's some rainy days too.
But you're that type of person. You want everything to, you want to win. You want to be great. And at the the bike race, you're trying to stay upright, which is a little different. It's hard to win the race when you're laying in the cobbles. Right?
Yes, there were a lot of crashes that day. Myself, I had a lot, and then everyone else also crashed. But I think it was a good experience. Because
how's that a good experience? What do you gain from that?
Well, I think in terms of. So first off, it's very eye-opening of I need to work on my bike skills. Second, which I've been working on this fall, they're not always showing, but I started working with a bike skills coach, and I got to explore so much more of Boulder than I would have otherwise. So kind of what it gave me was I got to meet this really cool person, and I got to see all these new roads that I can use in the future. It did mean crashing 3 times, but but then also it's kind of it was just I was grateful that I was okay. I could race after it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much energy a crash takes away from you potentially. And my coach he was like, with a lot of pro cyclists after they crash, it's there's kind of a dip in performance. And he was like, I was hoping that 4 days would be enough to kind of bounce back, but it wasn't. So what it is.
But then you finish on a high by sprint finish. The team gets the silver medal.
Yes, and I think it's tough to admit, but based on my skills. So had I not crashed in the time trial, it was a rainy day again. I think I would have crashed in the individual race.
Because you learned from the cobbles. You learned from the
and also
crashes.
I was going to race 28s or 30s, and Patrick sent me 32s because after I crashed, I'm like, if it rains for the individual race, what do I need to ride? So I rode 32s in the individual race, and I almost went down once. But then when I had that almost go down, I'm like, okay, you need to be careful. And I knew that because I'd gone down 3 times. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken it as seriously, and I don't have the skills, so you can't fake it.
No. In the Olympics, you can't fake it in the Olympics.
Yeah, but so then had I gone down in the individual race, not having raced the time trial, who knows, the relay it may not have happened, and you don't know how you go down. I was lucky. I mean, I could swim the next day. I could run 2 days after. I didn't break anything.
Yeah.
So
how sore were you?
Yeah. I mean, and it's also the issue is scar tissue builds and deepens.
Yes.
And so, I still feel my knee, and I need to get it needled, just to clear out that scar tissue. Because when you're good at recovering, you're really good at recovering. And so it just it's kind of the issues after the fact that you don't think about.
So one of the things we chatted about when you first came in was you're a HOKA athlete now.
Yes.
And just it's like this community out there where people just walk up to you who are like, hey, you wear HOKAs? Hokas? I wear Hokas.
Yes, I don't think it's any other shoe company. It's kind of very unique.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect it. I wouldn't have thought it. But I love my Hokas too. So it's an easy conversation to have. And yes, and when I'm wearing Hokas, people are very excited. If they wear Hokas, they're very excited to tell me about them.
Yes. And
So-
it's funny. I always tell people that, a lot of folks were at a point where they couldn't run anymore. And all of a sudden they put their Hokas on and it's like, wait, I think I can run again. They've been a savior. It's been pretty cool because at the time Hoka started, everything was about minimalist shoes. People were wearing the Vibram toe shoes or running barefoot and all that. And then all of a sudden, here comes this shoe that was so thick and like, oh, I like this. This is pretty awesome.
Yes, I'm very grateful for my relationship, and I'm grateful they were very patient with me. I had to.
You got to test them out, make sure they work for you.
Yes, and Abu Dhabi got canceled, and so that pushed it back to me trying them out in Yokohama.
Right.
So it's like I was grateful for their patience, and I'm grateful for their belief in me and their support in me. So
That's
yes.
awesome. So this year, when it's one Oceanside win, San Francisco T100 win, Ibiza win, Lake Las Vegas win, Dubai win. That's a balancing act because you're also doing world triathlon events, as well as sort of squeezing these in. Obviously, the Olympics is the number one priority, I'm assuming.
Yes, which didn't go very well, but
But again, you were coming off a crash, and like you said, what you learned from that helped you in the relay. And that got us a silver medal. So now you got 2 silver medals.
yes.
Yes. Now, do we stick around to 2028 to get that individual silver or gold? Or too early?
Well, I think I don't want to commit either
Right.
way. I'm very interested. I fell in love with the time trial. It is the coolest event, I think.
Yeah.
And so a time trial in LA, I'm very excited about. But that I need to do a lot of work for and learn
Right.
more. But just an event where it's very much in your control, your effort, that's fun.
You and the clock. That's
Yeah.
it.
And also being a part of USA Cycling, it just it gave me hope that a national federation can really be supportive of your goals.
Right.
And Brendan Quirk and USA Cycling are just fantastic and super impressive. They rented a whole hotel in Paris and they had a whole staff for all the food. And so it was just everything was taken care of and just everything was dialed, and it was athlete performance first and athlete centric. And it was just this launching pad to
Yes.
performance.
Right.
And it was really impressive. And you saw in their results, I mean, I think they got 6 medals or
They
something
got
like
6
that.
medals, yes.
And a lot of golds. So that's it's a fun time to be, I think, part of USA Cycling. So, but then triathlon, you have to have all the points to get onto the lists. And so it's in order to get there, you'd have to probably have 18 good races. So it's do you want that? I don't know.
Do you want? Yeah, and then the deal is there's so much gamesmanship that goes on with people holding a spot and then knowing they're not going to race. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And when I look at the purity of the time trial, it's you and the clock. You're not dealing with any of that crap. How fast can you go? That's all that matters, right? It doesn't matter how many races you do. It's you've got to go fast when it's time to qualify to get to the Olympics. Period.
Yes, and there's so many things that I'm interested in, unfortunately or fortunately. So
Fortunately.
it's I love the time trial. I love the T100. I love 70.3s. I love I love the
You love the
Ironman
full.
distance.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
You do. You
and
love
so
the
it's
full.
also in terms of, I think one of the things I learned is this year is you can't fake it excitement.
No.
And for me at least, I get my best performances when I am excited, both in the preparation. One of the things Dan asked me after the individual race in terms of kind of what I want to do this fall and what I want to do in the future is what would you be excited to go do?
Right.
And that's because that's important, and I think he understands that's an piece.
It's the most important. You've got to be. Well, you got to be inspired to get up every morning and go do that.
Yes, and also it's like you want to get the best out of yourself, and so if it's like, what races, like landing in the location, are you excited to be at? Like I think this location we can all agree kind of cool.
Spectacular, yeah.
Yes, and so like what brings the best out of yourself? Like because I don't want to just be going through the motions, so I'm not sure. That was a long-winded answer to say.
It's a good answer.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure, but you keeping all your options open, which is wonderful.
But also interestingly, I've like since I haven't been racing on my road bike this fall, I've fallen in love with my road bike again. I didn't really like it for like a year or two, and I wonder if it was like just like kind of the stress that came with it, of terms of like WTCS races. It like they're not physiologically, they're further away from my strength, and my strength, this like biking part, is kind of neutralized. So it's like it's more of a challenge for me. But I think so. I work with Julie Dibbins, and
the best.
Oh, she's incredible. And in so many ways, like as an athlete and then also as a person. And she's just like, I'm so grateful to get to work with her. And she has a really good like way of framing. And she's like, you should always keep short course around if you can, just to even like develop your skill. And
Absolutely.
your craft.
Yeah.
And like thinking about my racing as my craft,
Mm-hmm.
it just is a good like kind of idea, I think.
Well, and also the speed you gain from that helps in everything else you do. And also, like you said, those races really aren't catered to your skills, right?
Yeah,
because
but
you're going to come out of the water a little bit behind, but then you got to have somebody who's going to work with.
Always. I've let out of a WTS
Yes,
swim.
you have. Yes, you have. But most of the time.
And I have a good swim coach now, so I'm.
Now,
so
who's the swim coach?
Julie.
Oh, well.
And so,
yes.
so we're working on it. We're working on starts. We're working on everything.
But that makes the difference with those races is you have to be there. You
Yes.
have to be there out of the water, because all those guys can ride. But if they had a time trial, it's a different gig. They're riding together, which a group is always going to be faster than one person. Most of the time, you can bridge, which you've done before.
Yeah.
But then you've used a lot more. You've burned a lot more matches to get there.
Yeah, and also in developing like my skills on the bike, I think it's a great tool. And then I was talking with the World Triathlon president in Dubai, and hopefully he was talking about how they're hoping to have a more diverse set of courses now. So I don't know if it'll happen. Who knows? But that'll also be fun in terms of just like, you know what, like if a course excites me, can I go do it?
Exactly. Like this course excites you.
Well, yeah, I haven't seen the bike course, but just I think the place, like I'd never been to New Zealand before. So.
I haven't either. We have just fallen in love.
This is your first time in New Zealand?
It's our first time in New Zealand. We were supposed to come here in 2020 when there's a lot of people who qualified for this race in 2019. And because of COVID, it didn't happen in 2020, 2021, 2022. This is the first time. There's seriously a whole group of people who qualified for this race 5 years ago.
Well, now that cohort kind of understands what it's like to go into an Olympic cycle.
Exactly. You know what? You're absolutely right. The Olympic cycle is it's ridiculous. And then one day every 4 years. It's tough enough going, okay, I'm going to the Ironman World Championship in Kona. It used to be every year. I've got one day. I've got to be great. Well, in a year. Now it's for you guys, for the Olympics, it's 4 years. The odds on everything being perfect is pretty tough.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't need to be perfect. And that's one thing that actually I get to work with Patrick Lemieux. He's my manager. And he wrote to me, like, you don't have to do anything special.
It's true.
And I think that's like, someone asked me like any advice for anyone like racing a world championship. And I think it's like, if you have that idea that you have to do something special, you know what? It might happen, but like any day you could do something special. So it's like, it's not like saying you have to be average, but kind of. And that'll kind of, if anything, it'll like bring out a better performance.
Right. I remember interviewing Frank Shorter, who won the Olympic gold in 1972. And he said, if you look at the history, the person who comes closest to what they normally do is the one who's going to win the gold medal. It's not, because a lot of times people go in going, I've got to have the performance of my life. And that's not necessarily the case. You just have to do what you normally do, because a lot of people blow up because they try to go outside of their norm.
Or try something new. It's just like, at the root of it, it's just like, it should be like a celebration.
Right. All the hard work you've done to get here, and the whole world now is watching you on center stage in Paris.
Okay, that sounds a little bit more pressure-inducing, but
It is. Actually, you'll like this. So this guy, Ryan Hall, was a 2:04:58 marathoner, qualified for, he went to a couple Olympic Games stuff. And he said what his dad would always tell him before every race, when he was in grammar school and high school, is, listen, there's 2 billion people in China who could give a crap about what you're doing right now. It doesn't concern them at all. But he said, Dad, that doesn't work here in Beijing. There's 2 million people here who are hoping I get my butt kicked today, right? But so that's the thing is you just always have to you always have to understand that the pressure comes from within, right? You can be an Alistair Brownlee sitting in your flat before the 2012 Olympics in London and thinking, they're all saying about you're going to get a gold and your brother's going to get a silver today, and they're sitting there in their place going, we better not screw this up. That's real pressure when you're in your home country, which is 2028, right? But yes. It's also that opportunity to just have the greatest race of your life with everybody in the U.S. watching. That's pretty cool.
Yes, are you trying to sell me on 2028?
I'm selling you on whatever you want to do. But I love the idea of the time trial because that's your happy place. It's just you. You don't have to worry about the other athletes. It's how fast can you go?
Yes, and then also hopefully that would also include the road race and
yes.
Having 4 years to prepare for that versus like it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to do that this year.
No.
And so that's also if I could then like kind of serve, but like help that. I don't know. It's just a different opportunity.
It's a different thing because you could be pulling for somebody else, right? It's all about the team.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating that you got this opportunity to be exposed to a different. Because most people have their one federation.
Yes.
They have their USA Triathlon. They don't know any different. And then you go and you have this other experience. And you're like, huh. So this is how it can be. This is pretty cool. Not to say that one is better than another, but one might suit you a little better.
Well, yeah, I think just like kind of understanding that, and that's a tough thing. Like even when you have a triathlon team of 5 people.
Yeah.
Like. The goal should be to get the best performance out of each individual.
Right.
And so what's best for me might not be best for Morgan.
Right.
Might not be best for Seth. And so if you're applying a one-size-fits-all to all 5 athletes based on what you think is best, you might not get the best from each athlete. And also it's kind of tough when you're 26 and I would like to think that I know myself best. There are some people who know me very well, but I understand what I need to succeed.
Course.
And kind of just being dismissed about that, like versus like we know better. Like this is the way it's gonna be. And it's kind of like, okay. Like honestly, after the individual race, I moved out of the village.
Really?
And I had asked them before, like, I do not want to stay in the village. This will not help my performance. And that is the only reason I raced well in the relay, like because I moved out. And so
what was it about the village? Just too loud,
It's too loud. It's too hot. There's so many people, and like I really like to like shut off.
Right.
And like the quiet. Like that was one thing about the USA Cycling hotel. It was just like quiet. Like I can't deal with all the extra noise.
Yes. There's enough noise as there is. It's the Olympics.
No.
Yeah.
Well, like literal and
just outside. Yeah.
And so it's just like it doesn't work for me. And some people really gain energy from that, and that just drains me. And so I want to be on the starting line with as much energy as I can have. And so yes, I'm probably not supposed to say that, but I moved out of the village.
No, but as a coach, the idea is to know each of your athletes because everybody has different needs going into the most important race of their life.
Well, and I think, and my team, I'm very grateful. They know me and
Yes.
are learning me.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any of my team credentialed.
Right.
So Dan was there in Paris, but he
couldn't get to you.
Over no credentials. So it's it is what it is, and you kind of deal with what you deal with.
Exactly. So this year, besides winning everything and getting
not everything. There were a lot of races where I was 19th.
Well, okay. We're talking World Tri. That's ITU. But I'm talking about the races where it's not draft legal. All right. You just had such a great year. Doing Alcatraz and jumping off the boat. It's one of those iconic things, but also pretty darn scary.
It was, okay, so for the women, we got to watch the men. So I think
that's
that was
helpful.
also helpful.
Yeah.
Because they dove off at like 6. We were on the same boat. We had to stay upstairs and they were downstairs. So we had to stay separate. But I don't know. Sam Long kept coming up to the women.
Yeah.
And then, but it was like.
Can somebody teach me to swim? I could use any tips you guys got. Anybody want to swim for me? We'll make it a relay.
That's mean. I mean, everyone's trying, and it's kind of tough when it's like I know with my bike skills, like everyone is just like judging every move.
Right.
But and that's kind of like a hard place to come from. But like being able to watch the men and kind of having the idea that everyone's going to come out together.
Right.
It was like, you know what, just accept that and like then get to work. And the bike course was super cool, and the run course was really nice too. I think that was like one of the most surprising races because it was just like I wasn't expecting that course.
Oh, you weren't expecting that course?
No, not the bike course. Like, it was awesome.
It was a really cool bike course, right?
Yeah.
And actually, the regular Alcatraz bike course, I don't think is as cool as what you guys did.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But not that maybe they could change it.
Nah, keep that, baby. And then Ibiza, Lake Las Vegas, Dubai. Now, you'd been to Dubai before as part of World Tri?
Abu Dhabi,
Oh, okay.
not Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it was very
Hot?
Yes, and so in Kona last year,
Yes.
I lost some bottles.
Yes.
Free. Well, in Dubai this year, I also lost bottles. I lost my front bottle. I went to take a sip, and I had the top in my mouth, and it just had dropped. Like, it was a malfunction, and so I lost 100 grams of carbohydrates in that. And I had backups on my bike. I took pills, and that led to later issues that everyone knows about. But then also my frame bottle. So I'm like, in the hottest races, I lose all my bottles. So
What's the deal?
I don't know, because then in Oceanside in San Francisco, I actually didn't take a sip of fluids the whole race. So
Wait, an Oceanside bike ride? You didn't freaking drink
the
anything?
whole race, I didn't drink
What?
anything. Yeah, so it's
Because it was chilly, or just you sort of forgot, or
it was so cold.
It was
Like
freezing.
my feet were still numb mile 54 of the bike, and I'm like,
how am I
I
going
don't
to run? How am I going to run?
yeah.
Yeah, but you knew your HOKAs are heated, so that would be not a problem. Very good.
No false advertising here. I mean,
We just make stuff up as we go along.
everyone will be looking for their heated Hokas. Yeah, so.
Was it hard for you to make the decision to come here? Because it's been a long season for you.
Well,
Is your mom racing?
yes, she would like to say that. We're staying separately, which is good. But actually, so after Dubai, my coach didn't really want me to continue.
Yeah.
He's like, I think it's really been a long season. And like, one thing that I told him was I want to have a long career if I can.
Exactly.
So like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Exactly.
And like, my body's pretty tired. And so like, and also one thing about ending in December is, okay, you have a long season, but also you need to take a break. And then that kind of impacts the next year.
Absolutely.
And so for any series who's looking to start in March and finish in December on consecutive years, I don't know how long that'll last.
Exactly.
For the athlete's health, because you need to have a break.
Always.
So it's also, that was part of it in terms of like, well, if you're starting January 1st, is there enough time to get prepared for the season? It's an easy no to race no Abu Dhabi this year because it's February 8th and 9th. Well, so anyway, so the decision here was, number one, like, how did my body come back from Dubai?
Sure.
Am I responding to training? Yes. Shockingly, like I finally things were clicking, haven't clicked for a while. And also like, what were my feelings of like, did I want to? And I wanted to, and I couldn't explain why. It was just kind of like a gut feeling, and you kind of reason behind your gut feelings, and I couldn't really come up with a good reason, but I'm just like, it's there. The feeling's there. I want to race.
Well, and this is a Taylor Knibb type of course because it is challenging, right? It's not your cookie cutter. You don't like these cookie cutter IT things. You've got over 2,000 feet of climbing. You really get to show your bike skills. You got the chip and seal road. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that makes this race special.
Yes.
And it's a great part of the world.
Yes, well, and just like to come here, I think is like, well, you've never been here before.
I've never been here before either. Yeah.
I'm shocked, but just like to get to see New Zealand, I think like not very many people always get to do that.
No,
So.
that's the benefit of the sport, is to travel in the world and getting to see really, really cool places. And when you're doing the World Tri races, most of those don't have age group races in them, right? Are they mostly standalone?
Yeah, I actually have no idea, and that tells you how much.
Yes.
And it's also like the World Triathlon Series, since I've started racing it out of college, has been very much the same.
Exactly.
So it's like yes, we're going all over the world, but you're going to
Yokohama 38 times. Okay, after 37, I think I'm good with Yokohama.
But thank God there's a direct from Denver. I mean, it's the Abu Dhabi that you're like, oh
my
sorry.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But like, yeah, to get to go to someplace new is kind of fun.
So this next year, will you do some World Tri, or you just don't? You just see what happens?
At this point in time, I have no idea.
Good.
I feel like my schedule could take 8 different forms. It could involve 5 WTCS races or none. It could involve like
Ironman Pro Series, all that type of stuff?
No, because I don't think I want to do 3 Ironmans.
Oh, you have to do 3. Never mind.
Well, you don't have to, but I mean,
if you want points, you
just have to do very well. Like you could,
you could win a bunch of 70.3s.
Yeah, and then it would depend. But I think, like I don't know, like I'm grateful for the T100 because I think it created the Pro Series in a lot of ways.
No question.
But then you kind of ask yourself, do you have to do a series? Like just because there are series offered, do you have to do one?
Pick and choose whatever you want to do. I mean, the main thing is the commitment gave a lot of people, the solid financial, right? They got money for committing to T100, which is great because we've never really had that before, where people were getting committed dollars from, before the season started, plus opportunity to make potentially 210,000. So it's a good era to be a pro triathlete, and you're in a great position because you can sort of pick and choose whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah, but the tough thing is like there is like, yes, it's great and the opportunity is fantastic, but it's also there's so many different options, and I don't want to make the mistake of shortening my career by getting greedy or doing too much. And so it's almost like it's tough to skip stuff. And like if you asked me, like someone suggested, like, well, like in terms of thinking what you want to do next year, like just like write down all the races that excite you. And that list is like
right.
Every race could excite me for a good reason. So it's also like trying to be smart and keeping options open. So like if I want to go to LA, what does 2025 need to look like after a pretty dense 4 years, I would say?
Yes.
It needs to be a little bit more relaxed.
Right.
And yet there's so many racing options that it could be easy to just like fling myself into the biggest year of racing ever. So how do you keep yourself reined in? Well,
and also this is a Kona year coming in for, right? And obviously you, with your history with mom and everything, that race has a lot of appeal, and you went there and had a great first time. I know you probably don't look at it that way, but it was a great debut.
It was good. I have a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, well, and that can happen this year, but then that means doing another one to qualify. There's a lot, so you've got a lot of things to think about over this off season.
Yes, well, and hopefully they're good problems to have, because I mean, the other thing is like 2 years ago, at this point I was injured and I was getting surgery, so like racing can be taken away like that.
Yes.
And you just never know when that's going to happen. So being grateful for when there are races and when you are healthy and you can line up, and that's also part of the reason why I'm here. Like,
you're
I
healthy.
don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, knock on wood. I mean, it could change in a day. That's the scary thing.
Well, I'm grateful you are in our sport because you bring such a breath of fresh air into the sport. I love the way you look at it. I love the way you race it, going off the front.
Sometimes. I mean, there are races where Lucy's off the front and I'm
you're chasing.
fully chasing the whole day.
Well, we want to see that again in Kona this next year. We want to see you and Lucy and Laura and Annie, and it could be awesome.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll see. You're trying to get me to commit already.
That's why I hold the microphone. That's what I do. Taylor, thank you so much for taking time to chat. I love chatting with you. You're always so much fun. And good luck to you and your mom. I love that mom is racing down. Has she raced here before?
No, we've never been to New Zealand.
Oh, my God.
My parents have actually never been to this continent.
Wow.
So, yes.
Very cool. Love it. Taylor Knibb has been our guest. Again, Breakfast with Bob, 70.3 World Championships, beautiful Taupo. Hold on. We'll be right back.